welcome to the first ever live episode of the J-Karp Show. I'm Jeremy Karp. Today, we're going to talk about a very hot topic, at least in this area, the St. Louis sports, preferably the Blues, Rams, and Cardinals. Now first, we have the St. Louis Rams, who sadly finished 2-14 this season, but are trying to make some improvements in the offseason. So here with me I have Cody Crane, who will be answering some of the questions I had for him. Now, how do you spell your name, first off, so we know it?
Codycrain.
Okay. Now, what do you think the Rams will get in the draft? They have the number 6 pick. Do you think they'll get Trent Richardson, Justin Blackmon, or any other player?
You know, personally, I think they should get Blackmon because he's one heck of a receiver and he's a big body and he's a big ball handler and he likes to. He's a big possession receiver.
Oh yeah. Now, as you saw earlier, you have the Rams schedule. If you want to take another look, it's considered one of the tougher ones in the league, in the middle of the pack from what RedZone.org predicted. Do you think we have a real good schedule this year?
I think it's a good schedule, to be honest. And you got teams, you got a lot of tough going away games. But, you know, all in all, I think the Rams, you know, if they really try, I think they'll be able to make 500 this year.
Okay. Now, last year, as you know, you went 2-14. Yeah. What do you think was the big reason? Was it injuries, just lack of playing, or what do you think was the big cause of it?
In my opinion, I think it all comes back to the coaching. Because if you have a coach and players aren't understanding from the coach and they don't want to be with them, then they're not going to produce.
Right.
And once you're not producing, you're not winning games. So in my opinion, it was the coaching. And now with Jeff Fisher, I think he'll get them in gear because he knows how to get the best out of people.
Oh, yeah. Now, as you know, our defense, although our front four was a very strong defense last year, it was our secondary that really suffered the most during our defeats. As evident in the Ravens game, we lost 37-7. 3 touchdowns went straight to Torrey Smith over Justin King's head. Now, do you believe that that's the position they really need to fill this season, or is there another one?
You know, I think all positions, to be honest, because, you know, no position should really be secured at this point with a team like that, with a record of 2-14. I think it should almost be a rebuilding period, and just, even if you want to keep a player and develop them, just make sure you develop them well enough that things like that won't happen again.
Now, one more about the coaching. We'll go back to the coaching segment. As you know, recently the Saints with the bounty program have occurred, and one of them, well, the main person involved, I should say, was defensive coordinator Greg Williams, who just recently got hired by the Rams. Do you think the Rams should, if he gets his ban lifted, should they keep him or should they get rid of him?
You know, to be honest, he's a great coach, so in my opinion, I think they should keep him, but, you know, almost kind of keep him on a shorter leash just to make sure that something that caliber of a situation wouldn't happen again. But just, you know, keep tight rein on things and make sure that he stays out of trouble and make sure that everyone else stays out of trouble on the team.
Now, everybody says that, you know, the people with Trent Richardson, they believe, because he's an outstanding running back, but people believe that he will be drafted by the Rams because of the fact they think Steven Jackson's getting old. Do you think Steven Jackson is losing some of his lust and getting old, or do you think he still has a lot left in him?
For my opinion, honestly, Jeremy, I think that Steven Jackson is close to being done. I mean, he's still, you know, has productive seasons, but they're just not what they used to be. And, you know, he's been on the decline, you know, lately. Even though he's still putting up impressive numbers, I do think that, you know, he'll end up going sometime soon. But I wouldn't be surprised if they did get Trent Richardson just to get him and develop him as a as a running back and even have him, you know, second on the depth chart behind Steven Jackson, so he can have that experience and, you know, get him in on some plays and get him some live action. You know, I could see that happening.
Now, what do you believe was the strongest position of the Rams last year?
Probably that front four on the defense, like we were talking about, because they handled the running game real well and they were able to get pressure on the quarterback in passing situations. So I think they're doing good, and I think that they'll continue to do well.
Okay, well, we'll just have to see what happens next year. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, no problem. And we're back with the J-Karp Show. Pardon me, but I figure with the first live episode, I'd do a little attire change. Now, next up, last segment we talked about was the St. Louis Rams, and we had Cody Crane on. Now we're going to talk about the St. Louis Cardinals, who recently last year won the World Series. for the 11th time, might I add. And now I have with me John Stassi. John, now tell us your name and spell it, please.
My name is Jonathan Stassi, JONATHONSTASSI.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts on, what do you think was the best move, I should say, for the Cardinals?
I like Carlos Beltran right now. He's hitting the ball real well, and he's been a good addition to our team.
Now, I, for one, was one of the people that said him not coming back is a good thing. Tell us why you think us not signing Pujols to a big contract benefits us.
All right, well, Albert Pujols in his own right is, one of the best players in baseball, arguably the best right now. Long term, though, 10 years from now, he's going to be 40. His numbers have already started to go down, and they're not going to get better than as he gets older. They're only going to get worse. So I cannot justify us paying Albert Pujols $30 million a year for him to not be the player that he is. And that is no disrespect in any way to Albert as a baseball player. That is just nature and how it works. He's not going to be this good for that much longer, and I just don't think a long-term deal was a good fit for the Cardinals. But something that's really concerned me is the past couple weeks is Adam Wainwright.
Yeah.
He's been a huge concern to me because he went from being a Cy Young candidate, and now he's lost his first 3 starts. So he's got to get it figured out. And, I understand it takes time. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery. It's not that his stuff isn't good enough, but if you watch Adam Wainwright pitch and the pitches that he's given up this season, it's not because his pitches aren't lacking. He's missing spots. He's leaving fastballs up, and that's not good because his velocity's down right now. Usually when guys come back from Tommy John surgery, typically they throw harder than they do before they had it. But since he is not stretched his shoulder out enough, he's throwing slower, and he's throwing 88, and he used to throw 92. So he's leaving an 88-mile-an-hour fastball right over the middle of the plate. It's going to get hit around, and his curveball is the same way. He's not keeping the ball down.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about the new manager, Mike Matheny?
Coming into the season, I was concerned, obviously, because he doesn't have any managing credentials. I've always liked Mike Matheny as a player and as a person in the St. Louis community. So I was concerned, but I do know that I like him as a person. And after seeing these first couple weeks of baseball, he's doing a good job, and I'm liking some of the things we do with Mike Matheny as manager. If you've noticed, the Cardinals have stolen more bases.
More aggressive.
They're more aggressive on the base paths, definitely. And he kept a lot of the people that were lower in the Cardinals organization, which was great.
Now, here I have the 2012 schedule for the Cardinals, and I'm sure you've obviously had a look at it in the past. What, say, 1-2 week span would be the key one for the season?
Well, you look at the week after the All-Star break here, you're stretching from the 13th to the 26th. You get Cincinnati, your other rival in your division, the Milwaukee Brewers. You have to play after you play your other divisional rival in the Reds, followed by the Chicago Cubs, which, they're not really a good team, and they haven't really ever been a good team in the past century. But after that, you got a 4-game series with the Dodgers. So that's going to be a rough stretch for the Cardinals. But they can come out above 500 on that series. I think they've got a really good chance. I like where they're going with that. So the month of July going into August.
Now, last year the Cardinals, as you know, the Braves at the start of September had 79 wins, tied for most in the league. They tied for the second fewest wins by the end of the season in that stretch. What do the Cardinals have to do so they don't have to go 18-8? What do they need to do as a team?
You play fundamental baseball is what you do. You don't get yourself behind, and you don't have to make miraculous comebacks. And that doesn't just go for sports. That goes with anything in life. You stay on track and you stay where you're going, and you'll be right where you need to be at the end of the season.
Now, as you know, like we said earlier in the interview, Adam Wainwright's not doing good right now.
No.
ERA is horrible, 0-3, coming off Tommy John surgery. Now, what I think, and see if you can disagree, we put Wainwright in the bullpen, find another starter, say maybe Shelby Miller from the minors, bring him up, But we need to get Wainwright, I think, some rest, get him maybe 1 or 2 innings, gradually bring him up, and then get him back to his old form.
You know, I agree with that, and there are several different things you can do with Adam Wainwright. You know, you get Chris Carpenter back, and you got 2 options. You know, Lance Lynn has looked really good as a starting pitcher. You can keep him in that rotation and be safe. If you want to move Adam Wainwright to the bullpen to get some extra work, you can. But you know, there are other options like, you know, I know he's Adam Wainwright and he's plays second in the Cy Young, but if he's not ready to pitch at the major league level yet, then he needs more time to develop and get his stuff back. Maybe you send him to a rehab assignment because his elbow's bothering him in the minors. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. I'm not saying that it's the smartest idea, but you know, it is an option. And you know, moving him to the bullpen, if you look at his past couple starts, he's getting lit up early, like the first couple innings. It's not like the long stretch is hurting him. He's just getting hit all around. He has to figure something out in general. And if that means going to the bullpen or going to the minors, you know, you got to do it. You're 0-3, and your ERA isn't looking that great right now.
Now, you have Matt Carpenter, a no-name player last year who's come up and he has just lit up this offense. Home runs, doubles, and he's done good in the field too. Is he a developed player, or is this just one of those hot streaks that will eventually come to an end?
All right, well, the thing I like about Matt Carpenter is if you look at his AAA minor league stats from last year, he was tearing it up in the minors. You know, he had a good batting average. He hit over 30 home runs. So he's obviously a developed player, and you know, is he going to hit 30 home runs this year like he did in the minors and the majors? Probably not. Is he on a hot streak right now? Yeah, but I'm not going to say that he's not a good enough player to play in the major leagues, because you know, as of right now, he's been a huge contributor to this team, and I'd like to see more from him. You know, Lance Berkman's an older dude. You give him some days off, give him some rest, keep him healthy. You throw Matt Carpenter out there, and you know, you got a solid backup. And as the future goes on, he might be the starting first baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay, well, thank you for your time,
Thanks for
John.
having
We
me.
appreciate it. Okay, we'll be back. And we're back to the J-Karp Show. Last, we had John Stassi on talking about the St. Louis Cardinals. Now we have my good friend here, Doug Cochran, here to tell us more about the St. Louis Blues and the NHL playoffs. So, Doug, just introduce yourself.
Well, my name's Doug Cochran, and it's spelled Dougcochran.
Okay. Now, what team for you was the biggest surprise in making the playoffs this year?
Probably the Kings, because just they don't really have the big offense threat, and I'm Jonathan Quick. He's a pretty solid goalie, but they just don't have a big offense.
Yeah. Well, in a way, that kind of sounds like the Blues, because the Blues weren't known for offense. They were in the bottom 10 in scoring, yet they had the 2 best goalies in the league.
The goalies for the Blues, that is what helped them out the most, and Backus and Oshie, and just it's not with the Blues. It's a team effort. It's not, you don't put the back on just one person's. You don't put the team on one person's back.
Right.
It's a team effort, and that's what I like about the Blues.
Now, this Blues team all of a sudden didn't make the playoffs last year. This is only the second time in the past 6 years they made the playoffs. Was there anything besides the goalies that led this surge in the playoffs, or was there something much more than that?
The forwards in St. Louis are stepping up, and they're helping out in defense. Like Backus is he just got nominated for the Selk Trophy. He's a very good defensive forward.
Now, what goalie, in your opinion, had a bigger impact on the team? If you had to pick, well, at least one, Halak or Elliott?
Brian Elliott, for sure. He came out of nowhere and surprised the whole NHL.
What team who got eliminated surprised you more?
Probably the Penguins, just how everybody had them hyped up to win the Cup.
Now, going back to the Blues. Now, at the beginning of the season, the Blues started out 6-7, which was kind of modest, but they were still in 4th place in the division. Then Ken Hitchcock comes in. So you think the coaching also had a big effect on that?
Ken Hitchcock, when he was named head coach, I was very happy. At the beginning of the season and even preseason, I was just because with Davis Payne, I knew the Blues were not going anywhere, because he was just, Ken Hitchcock lays down the law, and Davis Payne was just too laid back. And when they named Ken Hitchcock, I was very.
Now, honestly, like you said earlier about the Kings not having that much offense and the Blues not known for their offense, checking the stats yesterday, Blues have a 1.88 goals allowed average. Kings have a 2.07. So are you seeing it as a low-scoring series?
Yeah, it's probably going to be a low-scoring series because they both have very good goalies, and as long as Jonathan Quick stays healthy, the Blues are going to have a tough time scoring. I think that the Blues realize that Elliott is a good clutch playoff goalie, as well as Halak. He led Montreal to the big time last year in the playoffs, but I just think that Elliott should stay in the net because he's doing very good.
Okay, so for your final prediction here, do you see the Blues finally achieving that drought and winning their first Stanley Cup?
It's going to take a lot for the Blues to win the Stanley Cup. They're going to need to step up, and I think that they will need to score a few more goals and have a few more players that need to score goals, get the puck in the net, but they have a really good shot.
Thank you very much
Thanks.
for coming in. Well, that about does it for this episode of the J-Karp Show. I'd like to thank my guests Cody Crane, John Stassi, and Doug Cochran for everything to help this show go well. You can follow me on Facebook on both J-Karp's NFL Updates and the J-Karp Show. This is Jeremy Karp, signing off.